I don't think this is gonna be a long episode. It's just Wicked.
Wow. So you don't think you're gonna have many wicked thoughts?
I actually don't have that. I was writing stuff down. I don't think I have that many Wicked thoughts.
Oh gosh. Okay. I have
Yeah,
a lot of wicked thoughts.
I'm sure. I'm looking forward to hearing about them.
Yeah, it'll be a good discussion, and I'm glad that
I
you've
think
joined us on this episode of Plot to Go. Episode number, what is it at this point? Is it 47?
this is 48. I think.
Is it actually?
I'm not even certain. I think last week was
No,
47.
no, it's not 48. 7 is 48. No, it's this going well.
It's 48. Oh, I didn't. When I was writing my notes, I wrote 48. Wicked for goo.
Wicked
I
for
did. I missed the
goo.
D. Wicked for goo.
Maybe that would have been a
Great.
better movie. Who knows?
I'm
I'm Jack,
Owen.
and this week we're talking about Wicked for Good, and that is it. It's the movie that's on everybody's lips at the moment. It's the big cultural event. It's Wicked. It's been hard to escape. So buckle up.
Has it felt as much of a cultural event to you this year as it did last year?
I think they've done a different strategy, and I think they were smart for doing that. Like last year, it was like press tours and all these moments and that kind of stuff where it was focused on the actors. I think this year it's been like copious amounts of marketing. Like the products which have had Wicked attached to them, I think are insane. I have a video that I've made that'll go up in a few days about the most insane bits of Wicked marketing that I could find.
Did you get
It's
them marketed to you?
some of them, yes. Like some, the reason I
Mm.
wanted to make the video was because naturally I discovered some of this stuff. So I mean, spoilers for that random video. Um, there's a Greg's in Leicester Square. That is a Greg's, like a Wicked for Good Greg's at the moment.
Excellent.
Where you can go and it's like themed of Wicked, and to open the Wicked Greg's they had a choir sing some of the songs outside the Greg's. um Brick Lane, like a really famous street in London, has been turned into Yellow Brick Lane, and they've actually painted like a whole chunk of it and like made like murals and shit. Just absurd stuff like that.
Have you seen this out and about? Have you been in those areas to catch that?
I've seen the Gregs. I've not been at the Yellow
Excellent.
Brick Lane yet.
Hmm.
I probably
Hmm.
will end up passing it actually in the next few days, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I think it's been a different marketing strategy, but I still think it's been huge. I mean, it had the biggest pre-sale tickets for a movie this year, which I guess, I don't know, it's not saying a ton because there's not been huge blockbusters. But well,
Hmm.
actually, there has been though. I guess
I
we had a
mean,
massive summer.
was Jurassic Park this summer?
Yeah, Jurassic
Yeah.
Park, Superman, Fantastic Four were all together.
None of them part twos. I feel like when
That's
you have
true.
something that's a like a cultural phenomenon last year that's really successful,
Mm.
people would book in advance to get to a part two.
That's true. Like a direct sequel kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but its pre-sale tickets or its like opening night tickets has entered the top 10 movies of all time, which is
Wow.
just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's mental.
Um, I guess that segues into quite nicely what I'd like to start this discussion off with. I guess if you don't know, Wicked for Good, it's part two of Wicked. It is act two of the Wicked musical that is on stage, just extended out into a movie. It's a
You
continuation of the
know,
first one. Not much
I
more.
so you would have rewatched the first one before going to see the second one, as did I. What irks me the tiniest bit is the when you're watching part one, it says Wicked Part One,
Uh,
and then when you're watching part two, it says Wicked for Good.
yeah, yeah.
Ah, are they gonna go back and change it? Like
What did that just happen with as well? There was a, oh, Dead Reckoning.
Mission Impossible? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, I guess starting there, I want to know your cinema experience because obviously we're in different places, and
I mean, I'm assuming you're asking that because you had like an insane cinema experience.
I
Mine's is bog standard. Uh,
well,
and in terms of like nothing special happened, but it was a really packed IMAX screen. Obviously, the one where we grew up isn't that big.
mm,
Um, but I probably booked the tickets only like a week in advance or something. And at that point, I had to sit in row C off to the left, because all of the kind of middle bits were all booked out and been sprawling out. So to try and get three people a decent seat, that was the corner that I had to sit in. So we
mm.
did have, it's the first time in a while I've had to look at the IMAX screen with like a weird slant on it and kind of look up at it. Um, but in general, the usual. I did watch a TikTok with someone talking about how the cinema was felt like it was kind of dead about an
Oh,
hour into the film,
hmm.
because of the quality of the film. Um, I wasn't really paying attention to other people or the atmosphere, if I'm being honest, while I was watching it. I was just kind of let myself sit in the actual film.
Okay. No, I asked not because I necessarily had a mental experience either, but like just as a gauge because we are in different places and like audiences react differently. I am curious genuinely about how this plays in different places. I went to the Cineworld in Leicester Square to see this in IMAX. First time in that screen, I cannot believe how big that screen is. Um, like maybe 1,000 people in the screen. It was
Mm.
insane. But I arrived. My screening was at like 7, and I arrived at like 10 to, and I walk into the lobby. They operate slightly differently, so you have to scan your ticket to get into the cinema, and then you go to like the concessions bit. There was maybe about 200 people at the concessions, all queuing, and I had to queue. It was just chaos. And I asked the woman there, I was like, "Is this what this is normally is like?" And she said no. They had a sold out IMAX screen. Like it's not normally like that. But there was people in full get ups. I don't know whether or not they were like maybe performing on the West End or like had some attachment that way because they had like really accurate costumes.
Hmm.
And people who just seemed absolutely bananas about the movie. And it's interesting. She was saying maybe about an hour in, people were, or like you weren't paying attention to people around you and stuff. I had like Avengers level hype moments in this cinema. Like, I'm trying to remember what they screamed for. It was at the end of a lot of songs, like a musical. There was fully like an applause. I was like, shut the fuck up. I know it was good, but like, shut up. They're
Yeah.
talking. It weirds me out a little when that happens because you're like, they can't hear you. They're not absorbing any of it. But it made a cool environment. I think it made me enjoy the movie slightly more. Um,
So applauding in the middle of the film.
yes, like all the way through.
That's a bit much probably for this film.
I think the big songs got like applause.
Hmm.
Um, I yeah, it was just absolutely chaos. I'm quite glad I was in like the second row to the front. I've weirdly not minded being that close to IMAX screens lately. I've just felt like quite immersed in it. Like the seats are nice enough and whatever. I I like sitting down. I was like, holy shit! There was just a sea of people behind me. It was crazy. Um, but yeah, I think that fed into maybe my enjoyment on the night. Um, and slowly my opinion maybe after that has changed slightly. Um,
I've matured.
matured. That's a great way of putting it. Just like cheddar.
Yeah.
Um, shall we just dive right in then, Owen?
Yeah, sure. I mean, um, just just as a preface, like how we normally talk about our experience with these films or
Oh,
series and stuff.
sure, yeah,
We watched this together last year and had a
we
lot of
did.
fun for with part one. I think do I remember correctly that you came in like green or something, dressed to the occasion, or was it just that we were sitting in a pub and there was a green wall behind you and you maybe had like a
Oh,
pink jumper on or something? It was
I
something
was,
something like
yes,
to do
I
with
was wearing a pink jumper and we went to a pub with a green wall. So there's
yeah.
photos of
We
me
were
doing
like,
that
oh my
fucking.
God. Yeah, somewhere.
uh,
Um, yeah, I tried to match the vibe. I went with in green trousers and a pink shirt, which was very faintly pink.
okay, yeah.
And then just covered that up because it's fucking freezing in Scotland. So I had like a jumper on over that, and then like a scarf and a big long jacket. So like none of that like mattered because it's absolutely freezing here and it's hard to do anything like that.
I had a green jumper on. It wasn't
Nice.
the same.
No pink.
No, I don't really own anything pink. So,
Shame.
I know. That jumper that I did own, I threw away. So,
Oh, well,
yeah.
rest in peace, Jack's Wicked Part 1 jumper. Moving on.
Yeah, so I mean, I enjoyed Wicked. I think I'm slightly higher on the first part than you are slash were. I don't know if your feelings changed on this rewatch. I
I think you're slightly higher and I'm slightly lower on this part, I think.
How do you mean?
Just based on Letterboxd.
Oh, you mean part two? I
So,
don't pay attention to my letterbox.
okay.
Um, I want to rewatch this movie. I kind of wanted to get a rewatch in before this, but yeah, that just wasn't happening. I'm too busy. Um, yeah, with the first part though, I think I enjoyed it slightly more. I don't know if your feelings changed. You said you rewatched it. Um, I don't know how you felt about rewatching it. I think it was my fourth time seeing it.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I it was one of
On,
those things. I watched it with family. It was
mhm.
something I saw twice in the cinema. Um,
And you're saying you enjoy it even more on your rewatch.
no,
Ah, okay.
I just it's a very weird. We'll get into it with part two because I feel very similarly with part two. But it's something where I look and can acknowledge a lot of the flaws that the movie has, but I'm still very endeared by it. Like I think part one is a mess, and a lot of the conversation and the stuff that I'll bring up about part two, I think I can attribute to part one quite easily as well. But I find the performances and the songs and the whole like magic surrounding Wicked Part One at least um, enough to like mitigate my criticisms a little.
Yeah, I think that matters a lot. Um, in terms of part one, there is like a magic to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the whole thing with it was it was a bit of a cinematic experience. Um, and they made it like a cultural phenomenon. Even if they hadn't tried, I'm sure it would have been
Mm.
being like one of the biggest musicals.
Do you
Um,
think that purposefully, though, I've thought about this, do you think purposely they did that for part one because they knew part two was weaker? I mean, it's, it's quite well known that part two is not as strong in the musical itself.
mhm.
So you wonder if, like, they tried to create this cultural moment for the first part because they knew it was, like, better.
Yeah, I mean, they might have done. That's why I was a little confused when you were talking about marketing and how much they tied in with it because I haven't seen that. But I remember part one being kind of explosive in terms of
Mm.
the way that I was seeing it. I have seen press stuff, weirdly, I think from this year because it's all just like the funny bits.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you seen
like
Madame Marble, Wicked
no,
Witch?
not
Okay.
seen that. But like anything that I see of them, I feel like is like red carpets instead of interviews.
Oh,
Um,
I mean, so they did
which
do
is
that this
important.
year. They did that. I mean, they did it last year as well, but they did that world tour. I mean, that's where like the whole Cynthia Erivo being like a bodyguard came from. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Um, yeah, I do wonder if they did really push for it last year,
mm.
for to then not do it this year and just have people that wanted to go see it.
Well, also, if you build up enough
Possibility.
cultural hype with the first, and then people also see it on streaming, maybe you do get returns of people want to see part two because they've already created that moment that people want to
Yeah,
see it through.
yeah. You don't
Um,
necessarily have to spend as much money the next year around pushing the back half of the first product.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Do you want to dive into your thoughts then for part two?
sure. Like I said to you, I don't have that much here, I think. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure I think you talking about it is going to spawn more, but
Yeah.
um yeah, I think people going into this knew that the second part of the musical is weaker. Act 2 is weaker.
Mm.
And maybe some people expected it and some people didn't. It seems like a lot of people were let down online. I don't think I was let down as much as most people, having known what I was going into, and then maybe having lowered the bar for myself. Um, yeah, I think I was just expecting a weaker part two, and that's what we ended up getting.
Yeah.
Um, the main issue, maybe, that I have is the pacing. It just feels a bit insane.
Mm.
I saw, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying to you earlier. I've seen a lot of people talk about the first hour of the film being quite poorly paced and a bit of a bore.
Mm.
Mainly from that one person on TikTok that had said that the atmosphere in the cinema just felt a bit dead, like everybody had checked out. Maybe nobody was feeling it or emotionally invested. Um, but I didn't necessarily feel that for the first half of the film. I think I was sitting there, like I said to you, just kind of letting it wash over me, assuming that it was servicing the story in some sort of way.
Yep.
Um, for me, it's in the latter half that I was just kind of disgusted by the way that the film just felt really choppy, like we were flying through stuff. Um, I think it's the moment that they start to try and tie it into the Wizard of Oz that I just saw a sharp decline
Mm-hmm.
in the quality of pretty much everything that was happening. Um, I mean that starts with there's like there's like a little fight between Glinda and Elphaba
Mm-hmm.
that happens right as they're trying it into Wizard of Oz, and it's funny enough. Don't get me wrong, like but it serves a purpose because they need to do that thing to get to the next point and everything. Um, but it's just that it's just suddenly got into comedy, but really like slapsticky in that moment. As opposed to how the films are comical, but it's because there's like this weird absurdist aspect to them.
Mm.
The comedy in these films is a little bit different to what was happening right there. And I'm not necessarily saying that they shouldn't have done that or anything, but immediately like it just feels off and it feels different. And it that's where I think it starts to for me just go a bit of a weird direction. Um, or not a weird direction because the story continues down the path that it set itself on, but it starts to fly through things.
Mm.
Um, and then there's characters that go away for a bit, um, and you don't see much of them, and then they're tied into the Wizard of Oz, and not something I particularly enjoyed. That latter whatever it was, probably an hour at most.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say actually, I don't think I've written this here. This film is 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think. Didn't drag for me. I don't know how other people are going to feel about it. I feel like this would be a really easy film for people to disconnect with, and just kind of be, like I said, bored by the first half.
Mm.
Maybe checked out in the second half because of the pacing. I was never at a point where I wanted to check the time or anything. I was still kind of locked in because I wanted to see where things were going. Um, I do particularly like the fact that we get to see more of Glinda in this film. Um, I feel like they put her more in the sort of center of attention. And
Mm-hmm.
I do like that. I like how we see how she's coping with the fallout of what happened in part one, and then there's that little bit from her childhood, and that kind of sets her up in a way that in a slightly different light. It confirms what you already know about her, but in a way that's like, oh, I can see how you've got to this point. And I quite like that. I've decided that I was a bit more harsh on Ariana Grande from when I first watched part one. Um, I said something along the lines of it's kind of like Cat and Victorious, but like with a couple of added layers. I don't agree with that now. Not from this film, but from rewatching part one.
Mm-hmm.
I think just maybe with the context of having watched it already, I'm sitting there looking for extra things, and I think she really does that in her performance.
Mm-hmm.
And then that carries on through this film. Um, I was a little disappointed with how little we see of Elphaba. I don't know if we don't see that much of her, or if I just feel like that having come out of seeing the whole film.
Mm.
But to me, it just felt like the focus was lost there, and every time you went back to her, it didn't necessarily feel like we were developing her
Mm-hmm.
in any particular way. Um,
I think, can I pick
I
up on that kind of stuff
Yeah,
there?
yeah, go for it.
I think that speaks to my larger issue with the movie as a whole. As I was kind of alluded to, I have soured on this movie the more that I've thought about it. And every time something is brought up, I'm like thinking of ways that it doesn't work for me,
Hmm.
which is a real shame. Like, I enjoy the first part, but I also think the first part sets up all these threads in the hope that they're going to be resolved. And I don't think many of them are. I truly only think or truly think the only thread that's fully resolved, that's fully realized throughout both parts, is Ariana Grande's character, is Glinda. I think she has a complete enough arc through the two that feels satisfying. You can go from point A to point B, and I don't know, you just feel like you've come to know who she is and enjoyed her journey. The flashback was completely unnecessary. That didn't add anything to me. It was one of those things that was like, okay, you've padded out this runtime. Why? Like, that's like, I'd rather a scene of Alphaba or like of any other character. With the first movie, you set up all these people. You set up Alphaba and Glinda, and I think you're kind of assuming that the pair of them are going to be explored in enough depth and stuff. So that's not a worry. Slight worry is in the first part, you don't really explore the side characters all that much, but you are, because I mean, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but you know that these characters connect to the Wizard of Oz in some way. The first film's not shying away from the fact that they're alluding very heavily to what's going to happen to these people and stuff. But I think that's all that really happens is you get like quick, like, oh, like Easter eggs. It feels like towards certain characters, and then that character, the thing happens to them, and that's that. Specifically, my God, Bach and Nessa
Yeah.
Rose. I cannot believe how shallow that entire storyline felt. They set up something that's relatively interesting in the first part, and you're like, okay, that let's see where that goes. And actually, when you meet them in part two, because part two has like a massive time jump, which I don't think is conveyed to the audience that well as well. Apart from the
You don't
fact
think
that the
so?
characters look older, no. There's a random line where like Madame Morrible is like, it's been blah 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 blah,
It is like the first line of the film.
but it's weird because she uses a period of time that's relative to their world, not ours. Because she goes,
I don't think that's hard to understand though, to be fair. Like I think this serves the argument of that like directors don't have to baby their audiences.
absolutely, but I think it informs like where we pick up our characters given how long it's been. If you're telling me it's been years and Fiero
Oh, and
and
then
like
mm-hmm,
Glinda's relationship has just been what,
mm-hmm,
stale for years, like
yeah.
it works in a musical I think because you have a 15-minute intermission and then you're back into the story and like you're picking up and these characters are in new places. With the medium of film, I don't know, these characters have existed in a world and are real people. You want to believe in that, and they exist outside of the confines of like a film. But these characters,
It feels like they
apart
haven't gone anywhere.
exactly apart from
Yeah.
Glinda, and to a certain extent, I think Elphaba, but Elphaba just has that classic like superhero bullshit where it's like her powers have grew. That's really it. Or and also she's like a little bit angrier, I guess, towards the like what's happening in Oz. Um, but with like Nessa Rosenbach, we join them in this movie, and I'm actually I don't know the musical. I don't have any attachment to this, so a lot of this was actually a surprise to me in the movie. But I was actually really compelled by their storyline of her kind of like kidnapping or like keeping him hostage, and like what that would do to his mental state, but also like coming from his point of view of he's you know lied to a girl in a wheelchair because he felt bad for her, but never ever loved her, and actually was in love with like the super popular pretty girl. Like there's really interesting seeds there, and they don't want to explore it at all. There's like a few lines, and then you get, and this is not a spoiler, it's part of the stage musical, you get a song called Wicked Witch of the East, and I was absolutely baffled as to how that came to be. I was like, what? We haven't established who the Wicked Witch of the West is at this point. It also,
Yeah.
like, why do you have powers now?
I have a problem with the term Wicked Witch of the East for other reasons that are more like spoiler heavy.
Okay,
Uh,
we might do a
in this
spoiler
one.
bit because there's
Yeah, probably
one
worth
thing
it.
specifically that I really want to address as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I so like you've padded out the runtime of this movie with I'm in air quotes exploration of side characters, but nothing is in depth there, and I'm not attached to any of them. So I'm not disinterested when they're on screen because I'm hoping it's going to lead to something, but it never does. So I'm actually really curious to watch on a rewatch if I end up just becoming annoyed whenever we cut to any of these side characters because I'm like, well, I don't care. Um, I do think, as I said, like Glinda and Elphaba, or Glinda specifically, gets a lot to work with, and I'm enjoying her like inner turmoil. Um, I do think they reduced the pair of them though a little to just fighting over a man. Um, and what's even worse is I don't think that man is explored in any depth, so it just becomes them fighting over the hot, pretty person. And that being their like central conflict. Where is all of the storyline to do with like the animals and the
Yeah.
fascist state of Oz?
Yeah.
I know it's addressed slightly because the wizard is like trapping animals and stuff. So there are threads there. But in the first movie, that was a point of tension over like Elphaba, Glinda, and Fiero and their dynamic, and suddenly that's gone. And suddenly the only person who gives a shit about the animals is Elphaba, and then I just don't
And
think
then she
that.
also, it almost seems like she doesn't for a bit.
Okay, yeah,
It's
yeah.
which is really fucking strange. There's like a deal that's like almost made in the film. You were talking about uh Oz having caged animals, and there's like almost a conversation there, and I understand that the other person goes like, no, we're not having that conversation because they are firmly like foot in the ground, like I'm fighting my fight. But like
Hmm.
seconds before that they weren't, and
Yeah.
it would have been more interesting in terms of what the film was trying to say and put the conversations that could be had in this film. Just hear them out before any decisions were made right there. There's just like loads of that stuff. You were talking about like the fascist regime. They have like propaganda,
Uh
but
huh.
it's all against the witch. The animal stuff gets forgotten about. And
Yeah.
it's just the animal stuff I think was what I found most interesting about the first film. I
Hmm.
was so looking forward to seeing more about it, and it just kind of disappears, especially by the end.
Totally. Because it becomes centered around Fiero, and I don't think that's interesting. I
Yeah.
really don't. And I also, if we're, I'm not that much of a stickler for this not tying into the Wizard of Oz perfectly. I completely agree with you. I think it's distracting when they try to do it, and I don't think it
Mhm.
works half the time. But I'm not also not somebody that's going to be like, well, where was this character during this, and where was that? Because look, the Wizard of Oz
I
is
am.
like a century. I thought so.
Yeah,
However,
it annoys the
I,
shit out of me.
I will say, and we'll probably dig into this a little bit more in spoilers, but the motivation of a character towards the end of the movie does not align at all with who that character is in the Wizard of Oz. They're two completely different characters, and it's
That's
just
kind of similar to my criticism of like stuff in The Wizard of Oz.
yeah.
Yeah,
Again, I can excuse little bits. Like the Tin Man in this is not the same Tin Man as the Tin Man's like scary
that's my
and
big one. Yep, yep.
violent
Hmm.
in this. I actually like that. It doesn't have to tie into the Wizard of Oz that we know necessarily.
Hmm.
I like that. It's another character that or I guess I can say
Good
'cause
for
it's not
you.
a
I
spoiler. The
fucking
Scarecrow.
hate that.
Really,
Okay, that's the one I don't mind.
really.
So yeah, yeah, but obviously we can get into that when we
Also,
start talking about spoilers.
Cowardly Lion. Get your motivation, your priorities in order. You have a moment in this movie where you're like, the animals all have to leave Oz. Why do you stick around then? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you can't even argue that he would like stick around to get the message out because he is the cowardly lion. He'd be in
Yes.
front of the queue to leave.
Yes. It
Yeah,
doesn't. Yeah, and also his motivation. Just she freed me from my cage. Okay.
yeah.
I just think the movie as a whole feels entirely disparate. There's no like strong through line. I would say bar Glinda. She's the only reason that I was like fully invested in the movie. And I think the film knows this as well because I think kind of what you were saying previously, where were saying the pacing's off. I think they rush through everything to get to Glinda Elphaba scenes because they know they have something there,
Mhm.
like something that's like really palpable and that will get people invested. Because, like I said, like the Bok and Nessa stuff is like flew through. The
It's a
Fiero
scene,
ship,
isn't it? Two scenes,
it's like two scenes, yeah. But again, you come to
two
those
and a half.
resolutions. Yes. But you come to resolutions so quickly that I don't think it's satisfying. Um, I also think an issue with the pacing is how they integrate songs in this movie.
Hmm.
Um, in the first movie, and I rewatching this as well, coming from a perspective of I didn't know any of the songs going into both of these movies, bar Popular and Defying Gravity, and even then it was just like um, light cultural touchstones that I knew those songs. It wasn't like I knew them.
Hmm.
In the first movie and the second movie, I don't think there's that big a difference between the quality of the songs. I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, but part two's worse because the songs are a lot worse." I actually don't think that. I think they probably have a similar hit ratio because I think there's a lot in part one that's also just like this is fine. You have a lot more upbeat stuff in part one, and I
Yeah.
think that's where people are maybe more like, oh, it's the more fun stuff. But if you were really leaning into like how dark and thematically heavy this part two is, I think the music should match. Um, and I think what's the song For Good? My God, is gorgeously written. I think it is up there with Defying Gravity for me for like the best songs in this package. I think it's genuinely gorgeous. But then you had like great songs like I really enjoyed Wonderful, the song that they sing with the wizard.
Hmm.
Um, I enjoyed it was a song that Ariana Grande actually wrote for the musical. So this was new to the film called "The Girl in the Bubble," and I was sitting there going because I knew that she had written that, and I knew that Cynthia Erivo had written a song called "No Place Like Home," and "No Place Like Home" is whatever in my opinion. Um, I was shocked that the girl in the bubble is not in the musical because I think it is pivotal in showcasing Glinda's turn and without it, like without it, if you remember the music of the movie, it would cut
Mm.
from a scene to her going onto a horse and riding somewhere.
I'd assume that that scene would just be without the music, so it would be somewhere along the lines of like her speaking,
See,
or like in a conversation with someone else, just something that would be so much quicker in the musical.
maybe. I just know that Act Two is like super super lean, like it's really quick, and a criticism of that part is people often say it feels rushed. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if they did just cut that. But either way, I loved the sentiment of that song, and I thought it was like gorgeously written. So I think the songs kind of are on the same level as part one. I think part one songs are better. I'm not disputing that. The problem I think though with this part, and I don't know if you felt this way, I think it's a problem still with the first part as well, is that songs don't feel like moments. They're just like sung. So there's like little bits where a conversation will happen. They'll sing a few lines of a song, and then they'll cut back to a bit of conversation, and then that song will continue, and like it's interspersed like that so much that it doesn't feel like the songs had a moment. It feels so like
Right.
choppy.
I think. Uh, See, I always just kind of get that vibe from musicals anyway,
Hmm.
where like as soon as the sort of singing parts come in, I find it a bit jarring. Um, so I don't really know what to say about that.
Hmm.
I do think I enjoy the songs in part one more, but it's probably like what you're saying, like people just enjoy upbeat stuff
Yeah.
more, and this film is darker, and it probably is for that reason. I actually think, and it's one of the notes that I took um on the music, it might just be because in the same way that the music has to be in service of the film has to be in service of the music. So if
Hmm.
you're not enjoying the film, I don't think that if everything just feels a bit jarring and paced weirdly, it doesn't flow into the music. I
Hmm.
think they both need to work hand in hand.
Hmm.
So if one of them fails, the other one is also going to fail for you. Um, but yeah, in terms of uh music feeling like it works in a film and like it's been put in there properly, I don't know. I feel like something like Popular really works in the first one.
Hmm.
Um, and God, what's the one where they're singing about hating each other?
What is
Um,
this feeling?
yeah. But then you've got Fiero's one, which I think kind of happens, and then they start having a conversation, and then it continues.
Um, a little. They have. Yes, actually, that's a good example. You have Fiero singing, then you have like Bok talking to Glinda, and then like him singing to Nessa, and then Nessa going to speak to Elphaba, and then Nessa singing to Elphaba. So like a very similar thing, but I think that is paced better. I do think as well it's perhaps because Act Two is a lot of reprises,
Mm.
so it's a lot of like Glinda singing "I'm Not That Girl," but that just randomly happens for like 2 minutes instead of it being a full blown song. Um, yeah, I'm not entirely sure. However, For Good is brilliant, and I think this movie um, does that song justice. Like by the end of it, I was crying. Um,
Oh,
oh,
shocker.
not a
I'm not
shock
surprised
at
at that.
all.
I felt so emotionally disconnected from the film. I was sitting there thinking,
No,
I wonder if Jack will cry at this.
you didn't get emotionally affected by the by For Good.
I think I was done by that point.
I mean, I was crying when I heard it watching that special that they released. I think it's a gorgeous
Probably more
song.
valid to cry at the special.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I do want to speak about that, but I think maybe go into spoilers because I don't want to spoil.
I'm ready for spoilers, I think.
Okay, I'll say a singular thing before we do, because I think I'm finding the criticism surrounding this movie very interesting. Um,
Hmm.
somebody, I think for the New Yorker, I think it was the New Yorker, they wrote a review. Now, I could actually talk about this for ages, so I'll limit myself. But the headline of the article that he wrote was "Wicked for Good is really really bad." I think something along those lines. And he got a lot of hate directed his way, and then people have came and tried to defend him, saying, film criticisms should be allowed, like we should be allowed to criticize things that we love, and blah blah blah. And a lot of the criticism that was leveled at him was like, this is act two of the play, like it never was going to be this good. Like, if the source material's not as strong, like don't blame the film, blah blah blah, all this shite. Two things: one, I think journalistically, making a clickbaity headline like that, you're gonna get hate. You know what you've done. You could actually make a more well put together headline. But two, I don't think the excuse of, well, this is act two of the play, so it has issues, it has pacing issues, the songs aren't as good. I don't think any of that criticism is valid towards the film, because they've extended it. They've extended it by an hour. They're utilizing film to develop the ideas a little more. Yes, the basis has to stay the same, but it's what's the air quotes?
Develop.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
um,
I see. Sorry, I see the point that you're getting at.
like you are, you've been given room to use the musical as a framework and build off of that in this adaptation. And I think a lot of good adaptations sometimes change things, or because you've just got more runtime, you can explore ideas a little more. And I think a lot of people were going into this hoping that they would do that. So I think the the criticism that of or sorry, the lack of criticism because it's just coming from a like worse piece of art, quote unquote, than like Wicked Part One.
It's
It's just invalid.
unsavable. Yeah,
Like,
but it's not. Yeah, it could have been. Someone could have saved it.
I also think, and this is kind of what's been percolating in my mind the last little bit about why I think I've enjoyed this less, is the book Wicked is the story. Also, if you want to go even further back than that, it was a book adapted from The Wizard of Oz. Like, there's already a basis there, but Wicked the book is the story. The musical are the songs. So what is the film? Like, if you're not expanding on the story, if you're not, I know they've wrote two new songs, but if you're not really expanding on the songs, what what makes the film? Why are we adapting it? And I think
Mm.
the only reasons I can come up with are the performances, because I don't think this was directed with any sort of like flavor or magic. And I think, looking back now at the first part as well, I think a lot of that magic probably just comes down to the performances, because the sequences aren't shot particularly like. Do you know what? I'm sorry, I'm going to detour a little. I was listening to people talk about Popular. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember in the end of Popular, there's like a little reprise where the screen goes like really pink, like it's really saturated, and it's like you're in Glinda's perspective of like how she sees the world.
Okay.
And I listened to a few people, and they were talking about why that wasn't like the basis for all of the musical scenes. You're not confined to a stage in film, but a lot of the musical sequences in both parts really play out as if they could be performed on a stage. If you think about Popular up until that point, it just stays in her bedroom. There's nothing
Mhm.
fantastical, there's nothing more grand about it. The only parts where they've done that are like Defying Gravity, for example, or we can add some CGI in. But the basis of it, you could see that be enacted on a stage. Like, it's not that grand or dynamic, or it feels like it's lacking energy and like a creativity to it. And this isn't to say that John M. Chu doesn't have that, because I think in The Heights there's like really wonderful sequences in that movie that kind of like dance around surrealism and like, I don't know. Look, people don't burst out into song in real life, so you don't need to make things realistic. Um, And I think, sadly, when it comes to a lot of the songs, they are just like letdowns because they're shot with like such a lack of creativity. However, in saying all of that, I think it's also maybe in the film's strengths because they realize that the strength of the film is the performances. So look, if we just hold on like tight close-ups of these two actors, it works because guess what? It's going to provoke an emotional reaction for a lot of people because they're just that good in the movie. But I don't know. I would like to have seen a lot more for this being an
Right.
adaptation, I guess.
I don't know. I understand where that's coming from. The thing about popular is like that is supposed to be a discussion between them in the place that they're in, like they are in the bedroom. I'm assuming the kind of criticism there is that like we were saying, because it's a musical and it's absurdist anyway, they could be cutting between different places and they're singing the same song, or something
Yeah, I
along
mean,
those lines.
not even just popular. I think, sorry, it's just like every song is the same. It's all just
Okay.
like singular location. Like, do you know there's a lack of just like variety, I
Movement.
guess. Yeah.
Like it's not dynamic. Yeah. I get that. I personally it works fine for me.
But does
Um
it because you were saying like you weren't emotionally affected by like for good?
I'm talking about across both films though. I was going to say in the second film
Uh,
maybe that would have made things worth it.
mm,
Maybe that would have made things more appealing, because if you're going to have something that is no longer upbeat, you've got like what's a good enough song, but it's kind of depressing, and you're in the same location.
mm.
Um, so yeah, maybe something like that in part two would have made people enjoy those songs more. I don't know.
In saying all of that though, I don't know because no good deed, which people seem to be like loving. I'm assuming that's because they have attachments because of the musical. Because I thought the song was fine, but I thought the scene was dreadful. It was like a
Which
CGI.
one's no good deed?
It's where like Elphaba has left Fiero, and she goes to like her castle, and it's just this CGI slop environment that she's in.
It's the worst looking bit of the film. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I don't know. It's just a real shame because I look at this and I go, apart from the performances, why would I go back to these films?
Mhm.
Um, and I think as well, I recently saw some like older musicals, and there is a magic to them, like huge big. Even do you know what? Even like the big real sets and like all of the extras and the massive bits of choreography and like they just have such a largeness to them. And for this
Mm.
being as large as it is in terms of story, I think it feels very small.
Yeah,
So,
I would tend to agree with that. And I we spoke about magic in the first one. I think the second one just is missing.
mm.
Um, so that sucks. Did you did you notice the whole thing with them talking about clock ticks
Oh my god! Oh my
about
god!
four
Oh my
times in the
god!
film?
Owen,
It was just an interesting piece of dialogue that they chose to go back to
I
over and
think
over.
you're way underestimating how many times they say it.
Okay.
It's
I counted three.
absurd.
I saw somebody else count four. But yeah, they do say the same phrase over and over. Um, was quite that got the most reaction out of any of us, I think. In cinema actually.
um. Okay, well, I want to transition as well because I want to ask you a few things. Just
Yeah, sure.
before we go into that, um, for people who haven't seen it, would you recommend it?
No. Yeah,
Fair.
I didn't enjoy myself enough, nor do I think it's a good enough film to be like, go see this.
I think if you've seen Wicked, go see it just to finish it. But then I'm a
Finish it. Yeah,
completionist. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, because I actually don't know. Because I'm like, if you really enjoyed Wicked, is this gonna make you enjoy the story more, or actually is it more satisfying to just leave it where
It sounds like it's made you enjoy it less.
I am really curious if it will affect me that way because of knowing where all the stories go. Um,
I
I
still
am
like
I'm
the first one.
so so, so do I. But then watching this, it makes me go, did I? Like that's the effect that this movie's had.
Right.
Um,
I
I'm
just
probably gonna go see this again though, because I do want to just.
good luck, brave soldier. No, I do just I I feel like I could still watch part one and be like, there's something great coming. Like just forget part two,
Mm.
like exists and be like, ah, there's obviously a great film after that that ties it up, or
The
that's the complete story left on a cliffhanger.
I would recommend this and saying I think it's worth it for Ariana Grande's performance. Now that I think about
All
it,
right.
and for the ending, um, yeah,
For the ending,
yeah. Anyway, spoilers. Madam Morrible, Wicked Witch. I have to talk about her.
great.
Oh, so if people don't know, Michelle Yeoh has been doing on like every single press moment she's been asked. They're like, "How does it feel to play Madame Morrible, this like twisted character?" She goes, "Well, when you turn upside down, Wicked Witch." She's maybe the biggest miscast I've ever seen in a movie ever.
I did see somebody talking about her performance, and yeah, I would tend to agree.
It's
I just,
horrible.
which is weird because in an absurdist film, I feel like the kind of weird acting should match the vibe, but somehow it's still off.
Mm. I
I
was more
don't know
just
how the performance just isn't there.
it's I think it's I don't know when it is, but she sings very early on in the movie and I audibly was like, "Oh, oh, like it wasn't good."
Hmm.
And she's expressed herself she doesn't like singing and doesn't think she's a good singer. So I'm not just coming at somebody, but like why cast somebody?
That doesn't want to sing.
I
Yeah,
yeah. Um
interesting choice for sure.
do you want to talk about Nessa Rose?
I wanted to talk about Bach, but
Okay, well, them
actually,
as a pair.
well, you were talking. It's more like it's who those characters. It's my criticism is how it connects to Wizard of Oz. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's the fact that because you spoke about the Wicked Witch of the East, which and you said we haven't even established the Wicked Witch of the West yet.
Mm.
Which admittedly I don't think I picked up on. I think I just assumed that because they were calling her the Wicked Witch, they had established that she was the Wicked Witch of the West.
But like,
She, she sings that she's the Wicked Witch of the East to herself.
uh huh,
And then the Bok,
the
because
Bok.
we're in spoilers, the Bok becomes the Bok robot, Tin Man, and says to her that she's a Wicked Witch, I think. Doesn't call her the Wicked Witch of the East. That means that that does not get spread around and does not become terminology that is used or propaganda that is used
Oh,
within this
huh,
universe.
uh huh.
So when you get to the point where the house falls on her, the house has merely fallen on a governor, which Dorothy chooses to rob. There's no propaganda calling her the Wicked Witch of the
Huh.
East at all, which means that in this universe it was invented in that moment with Glinda going like, "This is the Wicked Witch of the East. Quick, rob her shoes." That irks me
That's crazy. Yeah.
endlessly. Um,
Also,
in the
they could have
similar, sorry,
that scene. Just to pick up on that scene, they could have shot that in any way, but they decided to have her scream Bok as a house falls on her.
absolute cinema.
Did that get a laugh in your screening?
I don't think so.
Oh wow, okay.
No.
Gosh.
Actually, what's funny about this is I think we had a discussion just to veer off from my criticisms. After part one, where we weren't sure if what is her what is the Madam what
Madame Morrible.
Madam Morrible. We weren't sure if she was actually magic after part one
Uh-huh.
because it could have been like a weather machine or whatever. I guess this establishes that she definitely is magical,
Uh-huh.
but her speciality, which I'm assuming means the only thing she can do, is like turn the weather. but it's way more powerful than that because she manages to turn the weather so much that she tears the fabric of space and time
Uh
and
huh.
lets through a house from a different universe. Um, so I thought that was interesting. I'm not criticizing that. I just think it's a weird thing to have happened.
Picking up with her though, I was really interested in like the wizard not necessarily being the evil person, him still being evil, but
Mm.
her being this like manipulator of him, and like them working together and it being like, I thought this was where they were going to go, her being really racist towards animals, and it
Mhm.
was her agenda the entire time, and like getting the wizard to like follow her plan and stuff, and none of that's ever addressed. She ends up just becoming like evil person. I thought that was like,
Yeah, I think that makes him more interesting because I think he is still the bad guy, but he like is really charming. I think Jeff
yeah,
Goldblum's a good cast in that
so
sense
do I.
because you're just really charmed by this evil person.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, my other criticism or with the Wizard of Oz tie-in in relation to Bach is the kind of thing that I think you said you didn't mind as much, which is the Tin Man is like this vicious person, which does make him more interesting. Except for the fact that I feel like he does flip really quickly. And I understand that he's heartless, so suddenly he doesn't have a heart. So heartless is more like heartless would mean that you weren't necessarily covered by emotion though.
So
And he's so angry.
he has a heart.
Oh, it's
So
shrunk to the size of whatever.
no, because so this is what I was trying to wrap my head around. They so not the Lion, but the Tin Man and the Scarecrow both know that the wizard doesn't have powers. So when they go with Dorothy, why would they care about like, oh, I want this, I want that. So I think the motivation is to just get there, which means that the Tin Man does have a heart, and then this explains this to me, where the Scarecrow does have a brain, because if the Scarecrow didn't have a brain, the ending doesn't make sense.
Cool.
But
That
I'm
that's
having to
interesting.
solve that outside of the
Yeah, yeah.
context of the film, which is weird.
Yeah, I think that's the weird thing with Wizard of Oz. Sorry, that was that my point was getting away from the heart stuff because
Mm.
it did irk me how angry he was. Um, was that yes, he's like that, but because he's totally different in Wizard of Oz, that bothered me. Um, as far as I can remember,
No,
because
he
I
is.
think
Yeah, you're right.
the cast are all kind of sweet,
Yes.
in a sense. Um, and so you have like this vicious man, and I seen that annoys me, and I find vaguely funny. It's like him in the town with the axe and like all the
Yes,
pitchforks
yes,
and
yes.
fire around him. Because I'm like, oh, so at this point, what did Dorothy keep walking, and then the lion and the Tin Man stayed back, had a couple pints, and like, rallied up the villagers, and just started going a bit mental. Just really weird. So yeah, just the way that Tin Man acted bothered me because it's different. And also, there's you mentioned the Scarecrow, which because we're in spoilers, we can talk about it being Fiero. Um, not thrilled with that or anything, and I was bothered by the way that he disappeared.
hmm
Um, but it might serve well considering that my criticisms were with the Tin Man being completely different, and they didn't because he didn't have the Scarecrow, he wasn't
Sure.
completely different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and it came that sort of thread came up for me when you get to see him again at the end, um, because of the way that resolves in the sense that I can understand now how they've tied the scarecrow into all of that because if he just became the scarecrow, why would he join on that journey if it weren't to, like you said, kind of infiltrate? And they've established him as someone who can infiltrate already, having done all the infiltration to get to the head of the army.
But none of that is in the film. Like I've had to come up with that because if
Oh, the
like it just,
infiltration bit. Well, I walked out of that and was like, that's why he's got to that point because it
but
never
like
made any sense until unless you think about it in that way.
I think as well it's just confusing because the timelines that he's dragged away after Dorothy has set course. So he needs to be dragged
That
away,
is
hung
weird.
up, turned into a scarecrow, and then suddenly, if you are tying it into Wizard of Oz, it's just like, hey, Dorothy, and he's came up with this plan already to get back. Like it doesn't work. It just doesn't. Like
Yep.
talking about the
This
ending though,
this yeah.
I didn't like it at all. I so
It's like Elf. Yeah.
I really enjoy For Good. I've made that clear. I think it's a gorgeous song. And I think the moment, this shocked me by the way, the moment where they're on opposite sides of a door, they're saying goodbye to each other basically, but they can't see each other. I think it's a gorgeous moment. That was improvised. So I was like, okay, that's really interesting. That probably one of your most gorgeous scenes in both of the films is just a completely improvised shot. Cool.
Improvised in the sense that like the I mean the song was always there, but the way that they chose to shoot it was just like last minute.
The door scene apparently was their idea. It wasn't like
Wow.
it just happened. Yeah, I know, crazy. Which I think feeds back into this idea of the best part of these movies was the pair of their performances. They clearly know
Mm.
the characters, um, and I think as goofy as it is, having Glinda there watching her like best friend be murdered because of the way that society has treated her and her trying to uphold um, keeping this like public figure, like this appearance that she's conceived for herself, and Elphaba telling her like not to throw that away and stuff. I think there's such rich stuff there, and I think it's like the final little bit in Glinda's arc that makes it like just great. Um, and then Elphaba survives, and it feels so like the last few minutes of this felt so cinematic universe. What Elphaba survives and Fiero has came to save her. So Ariana Grande is staring off. She's got the magic book and it's suddenly going to open for her. Where will this lead her next? Oh, and don't forget Elphaba and Fiero. They're away to fucking the Dune Desert. Like, I don't.
Were
Why?
were you bothered about Elphaba living?
Yes.
Because I would have been bothered about her dying.
Why?
Because I don't think that's an interesting thing to do for to have her character sacrifice herself there.
Maybe I find it more interesting because I am more invested in Glinda's story at that point in the movie. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think Elphaba has that. I think it's a testament to Cynthia Erivo's performance because I don't think Elphaba has that interesting an arc at all in this. It's very much centered around Fiero, and that's it. She has
I think
small
that's what
pockets
maybe
of
disappointed me. Like
in
you
what
just like you don't get enough of Elphaba, and then suddenly she's like, "I'm gonna sacrifice myself, and you
but
can be the good in this world."
I like her sacrificing herself for Glinda, like the whole what For Good is about and that whole song, and then both coming like whatever. I like that. I also just think it the whole water. Again, this is just a confusing thing with
Oh,
like.
that bothers me so much. The water.
Oh,
Oh
okay,
my God, to like no end. Right. Sorry, I'll go. The in part one, I think the first bit you get about water is Michelle Yeoh
yeah.
going like, "Oh, we'll keep you out of the water." And Elphaba doesn't say anything back, but I guess she's just like maybe like confused at what the hell's going on,
Mm-hmm.
or just doesn't care. And so like that's like the start of the propaganda that if the witch gets covered in water, then she's gonna like die.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what's really weird about it is like that happens. I'm assuming that people that aren't in on the propaganda then would know that she's not going to die from it.
Mm-hmm.
So her like getting the water thrown over her and then dying surely should surprise the people that are the closest to her. Unless she's just not sharing that information with anyone.
This is what's confusing because I'm coming out from a Wizard of Oz point of view where I thought that was real. So when they do allude to it throughout these movies, I just take it on face value like that is real. And I think the biggest indicator of that to me is her fucking best friend believes that if she has water thrown on her, she's going to be killed and believes that by the end of the movie. So you're telling me that that never came up? She never went to Glinda. oh, by the way, I actually won't get killed if I have water thrown on me. So then, what the fuck was the point in that ending song? If you knew you were going to survive, and what you just wanted to like, I'll let Glinda believe I'm going to die because that's good for her character arc, and I'm going to run off with the man that I wanted to run off with, that was her husband to be. What?
See, I
Sorry.
I under I understand that more because it still serves the purpose for Glinda's character without her having to kill herself. It does all of the things that she's trying to achieve without her having to die. So I understand why she wouldn't sacrifice herself because she's like, oh, I have a way out of this.
Oh, sure, but why
I
wouldn't
just,
she tell Glinda?
why wouldn't she tell Glinda that she wouldn't die from the water? No, I
Because she
mean, my
wants to be
point,
with
my point of
Fiyero.
view is why doesn't Glinda know?
She wants that
Um,
corn.
I would assume that the answer that you could pull out of that is that it's better if she thinks that she's dead because that will propel Glinda into being like the true good that,
I see, but
Elphaba wants to see in the world.
that's not her decision to make. I don't think that's right. I I think that's okay. I think that's okay if Fiyero doesn't come save her and
Right,
she goes,
right.
I've had enough of Oz.
Yeah,
Well,
it's the
oh
whole
wait,
like our plan worked thing at the end. That's the yeah. I get that. I also
it's
don't. What annoys me about it is like how thin it is in the sense that she's leaving Glinda to be good in a world that could still have the Wizard of Oz in it, except that she left the green bottle to hint to the fact that she is his
oh
child, and that's what
uh-huh.
sends him away. So my issue with that ending is the sacrifice is then done in service of the fact that she's trying to pull threads so that Glinda is like the one at the end that's kind of like looking after Oz.
That is weird.
Yeah,
Again, I don't think I think if it was just her doing that, fine. But then I also think you need a little bit more explanation on why she's suddenly decided Oz is not for me. But
that's my word. The other, yeah, that
like
pisses me off.
you need something of her going, it has gotten too much, or like something, because her added song in this movie is going, there's no place like home, I belong in Oz, I'm always going to fight for it. The end of the movie is you going, manipulating stuff so that you can leave.
Mm,
But also, fine, if you want to do that, just there just need to be a little bit more there. It's the Fiyero shit. I don't.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they don't do much with him in this film
No, they
either.
don't. I think he does a good
Uh,
performance though. Him and I really like Ethan Slater in this.
is that Bulk?
Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
don't like him as a character, but I think he does. I think his performance is really like scary actually at points.
You know what? I tend to agree with that actually. I also think the costuming for the Tin Man was very good. I thought it was very
Unreal.
cool.
Yeah.
Managing to match like the original, but also
Hmm.
do it in the sort of modern sense with the addition of like the CGI knees.
It looked so
It's
good.
very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely agree. In a
Um,
very ugly movie,
the Scarecrow
sadly.
was a bit funny.
Do you know that's
They,
practical?
I
Blew
can
my
see
mind.
that. Someone after we came out said it. He was looking a bit too much like Ryan Reynolds at the end there,
Oh gosh,
and
I've
I
seen
was
so
like,
many people say that.
yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that.
I've seen people say a slightly rounder Jonathan Bailey is Ryan Reynolds, apparently.
Interesting. I just thought it was like the thicker skinned Jonathan Bailey as Ryan Reynolds.
Thicker skinned. How cute. Okay.
Well, he has that like not net the whatever the sack that Scarecrow has.
And on that
That's pretty
note,
cool.
that was great.
That's how we're ending the Wicked review.
I think so. Unless you have
Um,
more to say.
no, I highlighted and read the spoilery bits. You've got the Wicked Witch of the East. I was pissed off at that.
I think as well it
Yeah,
takes away from her song when she proclaims that, because you're like, what? Like it just doesn't. There's nothing to it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And the 2.5 scenes I was referencing were the fact that you get her and Bok in two scenes together, and then Bok by himself trying to get on a train.
I see. I thought that thread was really interesting of her being able to manipulate the
Yeah,
world like that. But again, why? Why does she do that? Is it
yeah. It's
literally
so
as
like
thin as I want him to love me?
I think so.
And that's really sad that you have like most of your female characters centered around trying to get a man to love them. I think
I
that's why
think not.
Glinda's most interested in this movie as well because it's like there's there's a progression away from that in the first movie as well. Like there's clear evolution.
Mm. I don't. To be fair, I don't think Alphabet is solely that. It's just that that gets in the way of her motivations to like save the Ozland.
But that's like
That
the main
I think it's
thing.
because that gets murky.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. In the
Anyway,
ending, now that we've spoken about it, it's made me a little more annoyed at that.
yeah, no, I think that whole bit because it's jumping through all like from the house to the very end. It's so fast paced, and it's just them
Mm.
going like, "This is how you connect this bit up, and this bit connects to this bit as well." I appreciate the not showing Dorothy's face. I think that was cool. They
Uh
just
huh.
got like a stunt double that looked like Dorothy. I thought that was very cool.
It is funny
Um,
though.
well, not getting to see who it is at all.
Well, how many times she's in the movie and just the creative ways of not showing her face.
Of not showing her, and then having all of these characters that have changed so much, and Dorothy's still like with like her little basket in Toto. Excellent. Yeah.
Lovely.
I like then you can truly go you can truly go because it's not showing her face in regards to like the film and not how this connects to like the books and the original Wizard of Oz is kind of like a dream state in her head. You can
Hmm.
truly go that was all from her point of view, and that's why she's oblivious to the Tin Man being like like the whole fucking
Oh,
film.
that's so interesting. Huh.
So that might save that a little bit.
I don't look. It just doesn't add up. There's a bunch of stuff that we haven't even mentioned that just doesn't add up with. But, eh.
You want a question?
Oh well, why not? What was your favorite
Okay.
song before we move on?
I actually don't know. I don't know the names of them, if I'm being honest. I wasn't all that interested in the music in this film, so I have no idea.
You don't have
There
a
was, I was
single.
honestly, there was nothing that I was attached to.
I'm not even for good. That really shocks.
Nope.
Gosh.
I'll give it a rewatch in 10 years and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I don't want to rewatch this now. I'm not, it did not interest me enough to, validate a rewatch, to be
Mm.
honest. Happily go back and rewatch part one though. Okay, this is interesting. This is like current. With the live action Moana trailer having come out recently, what do you think of a live action remake being made so soon to the original release? We've talked so much about this on this.
Yeah.
What do you think the minimum length of time should be before a remake is made? Are there any examples where the remake is better than the original? Yes, the John Carpenter's The Thing um, is a remake, I believe,
Mm.
which is better than the original. Um, length of time to do a remake, 100 years.
Yeah. I think we have spoken about this a lot when it comes to like live action adaptations and animated adaptations, and I feel like we've came to the same conclusion and stuff. And I think a large portion of the internet is of the same opinion. If something's animated and it's good, don't remake it. Just don't. I don't think there's a length of time. I Moana should never have been remade, ever. Um, I can't even like think of stipulations where maybe it should have been. I just don't think it should have been remade. Um, especially not shot
Um,
for shot. And I've seen a lot of discourse around that trailer where like it's just slop. It's shot for shot, or it's CGI green screen bullshit. It's not even like filmed in Hawaii. Most of it was filmed in Atlanta. Some was filmed in Hawaii, but most of it was filmed in Atlanta on like blue screens and stuff. There was a whole discourse around her hair because when Moana came out, it was like a big deal to get like curly wavy hair and the hair technology that was used for her. And the girl in this new movie, they've straightened her hair, and it was just a funny like thing that people picked up on like, wow, animators worked really really hard on making this authentic to Hawaii and stuff, and then in the live action they just straighten her hair. Um,
Yeah.
I just don't think remakes should happen. I think it should be remakes of a bad movie, or it should be live action into animation. Again, I don't I really if I don't want to see good movies remade. If it was good, it was good.
Yeah. No, I agree. Um, yeah. Yeah, so something like Moana, it's never going to look as good live action
No.
as it did in animation. Um, I don't know. I think the question's like different if someone did like an animation of something in like the 60s where the technology was just not there, and then someone chose now to make a live action adaptation
Mm-hmm.
of that thing, and say it was like something based in space. I can imagine that being like so visually appealing and very cool. But it could also just damage the like reputation of the original if it's not good. Um, like you said, like anything that's bad, sure, make a remake of it. I think also if something is has aged, so you can put it in a new context or try and get
Hmm.
something else out of it. Um, but normally when we're talking about remakes, they are I would say 10 or 20 years apart. They're getting even less than that now. So we don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Um, generally, like if it's some like animated film from the last 30 years, we do not want to see a live action of it. Please stop.
Yeah. I think there's nuances and whatever. There's like small random like instances where it's okay or whatever, but I think by and large I just no.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what an episode. What a wickedly talented episode that was.
Yeah. I don't have a game for you this week either, unfortunately.
Oh, tragic.
Oops.
Um, Next week we will be talking about, I think, Zootropolis. I was wrong, by the way. I don't know if this was a conversation me or you had, or if it was in the episode last week. They're calling it Zootropolis.
Yeah, I couldn't remember which one was which. Uh, is Zootropolis the UK version of it?
Yes, and I was telling you how they have the license now because it's not just the singular title, but yeah, they've done
Yeah,
away
you
with
were,
it.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so I think we'll be talking about Zootropolis 2. I think.
Okay. Hmm. I'm going to be prioritizing the new Knives Out and Stranger Things.
Oh, I
So I
forgot
don't
it's
know if I
Stranger
will
Things.
get, yeah, I don't even know if I'll get to Zootopia
Damn.
because these
I
two are the ones
for
that matter to me.
a lot of the movies that I've seen at London Film Festival, I actually have kept track of when they come out and stuff. It's the Netflix cinematic releases that I have not like. Why
Mhm.
they're in cinemas for like a week.
It's
Um.
crazy, because you have Wake Up Dead Man one day and then Stranger Things season 5 starts the next day.
Oh, that's crazy. But Wake Up Dead Man's cinema release, not
Wednesday.
in
Does
cinemas.
it not come out on Netflix on Wednesday?
No, so it's not out on Netflix until mid December, I think.
I did not know this. I just assumed that they were dropping all at the same time. But
No,
I guess it
so
serves as like a incentive to go see it on the big screen.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, okay.
Hmm.
I guess we'll see. I will have seen. We'll see. Uh, Like and subscribe and follow on all the things such as
Oh, Spotify,
and
Apple Podcasts,
and
YouTube,
and
Instagram.
and
Fuck, what's the last one? TikTok?
yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
I